to present AB 347. Assembly member, you may begin when you are ready.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam Chair. AB 347 is the Compassionate Learning Advancement for Science Students, also known as the CLASS Act. Under current law, students have the right to opt out of dissection assignments, but many are not made aware of this right or offered an alternative assignment. AB 347 will strengthen existing law by providing students with a written notice that will inform them about their right to opt out and will ensure students receive a comparable or a comparable assignment to achieve similar learning outcomes. Lastly, upon request, students will receive information about where the animal is sourced from and the chemicals they will be exposed to. This is also important information for the educator to know what kind of chemicals that they are exposed to. While current law allows students to opt out of animal dissection, they often feel obligated to participate because they may not be informed about their right to opt out or fear they'll get a failing grade if they don't participate. Anatomy and dissection are an essential scientific teachings. However, with the advancements in educational technology, alternative methods have become more widely accessible and affordable for educators to offer comparable assignments. These alternative methods, such as a synthetic frog model or Frogopedia, an application for mobile phones or tablets, offer a practical alternative that still allows students to participate and learn about anatomy. These methods can also be reused year after year, resulting in cost savings over time for our schools. We especially saw these alternatives in practice during the pandemic when no one was doing animal dissection, but those courses were still being taught throughout our state. I would like to clarify this time that under current law, agricultural courses are exempt and will continue to be under this bill. By providing students with a written notice, AB 347 will empower them to make informed decisions, and if they choose to opt out of animal dissection, the bill would ensure they're given an alternative assignment. Students have the right to an education and should not be penalized for exercising their student rights. I'm proud of the fact that this bill passed off the assembly floor with strong bipartisan vote. Here to testify in support are Sienna Roth, a former student at Aliso Niguel High School, and Samantha Crow, Associate Director for Teach Kind Science and a former professor of biology.
Thank you. You may begin when you're ready, and you have 2 minutes each for your presentation.
Great, thank you so much, Honorable Chair and Senators. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Samantha Crow, Associate Director of PETA's Humane Science Education Division, and I taught college bio for about 12 years. Animal dissection is not a magical way to get students excited about science. In fact, it disenfranchises compassionate students and can often turn them away from the sciences. Animal dissection is not mentioned or required in any curricula that covers California students, not a single one. No U.S. medical schools use animal dissection, and experience with it is not expected or required of incoming students. There are many superior methods and materials to support student proficiency in the life science standards that are more effective and equitable for all students. Non-animal methods better prepare students for higher ed, better prepare them, rather than animal dissection. These methods have in-depth layering of all anatomical parts. They have correct coloration. They even have simulations of body systems, so actual physiology that you can learn, none of which is possible with an animal cadaver. Teach Kind Science recognizes educators' professional judgment, of course, in selecting instructional materials, as well as their responsibility to choose materials that are both safe, humane, cost-effective, inclusive, and aligned with social-emotional learning and trauma-informed education. Please help students become better scientists and help educators honor students' rights by voting aye on AB 347.
Hi, I'm Sienna Roth, and I have firsthand experience with opting out of animal dissection. Thank you so much for having me here. During my senior year at Aliso Niguel High School, my anatomy and physiology class was doing dissection. I asked for a different assignment because my personal beliefs do not align with the activity. I was immediately met with opposition. My teacher and one of the school administrators asked why I was in the class if I wasn't going to dissect and suggested that I drop the class. Not only did they not inform me of my right to opt out of dissection, but they encouraged me to leave a class that would help me get a head start on my future career as a nurse. We should not have to choose between our education and our ethics. My school was not aware of their responsibility to inform me of my right to opt out of dissection, which is why there needs to be a written notification and a uniform complaint procedure. This will ensure students are doing the assignment that allows them to learn best. Dissection is an outdated learning tool that doesn't teach to the needs and learning styles of all students. I was able to use the Getting Nerdy paper model, and I scored significantly higher than my classmates on the dissection test. I understood the material better, and a lot of my classmates told me they wish they had done the alternative assignment too. They said dissection felt gross, sad, and unnecessary. I was lucky to have so much support in opting out between my mom helping me find connections and resources, Peter Teachkind informing me of my legal right to opt out of dissection, and the incredibly supportive assistant superintendent working with me to make sure this doesn't happen in the future of my district. However, as supported as I was, I had to jump through hoops, attend many meetings, and take time out of my busy student life to advocate for rights that should have been integrated long before I started the class. My younger sister took a science class similar to mine the next year, and while her teacher offered the alternative assignment, when my sister took advantage of it, her teacher pushed back and said, "What? It's not like you have to eat it." This issue is not anywhere near resolved, even in my school where I was able to make direct impact. I do not want other students to have the same experience I did. Teachers should know their responsibilities, and parents and students should be aware of their rights so that everyone can learn in a way that best reflects their ethics as it pertains to animal dissection.
Thank you. Do we have any other support witnesses here in the room? Please use the mic at the railing.
Hello, Chair, members. Nicholas Sackett, for proud co-sponsor of the bill, Social Compassion in Legislation. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chair and members. Sam Nasher on behalf of the Los Angeles County Office of Education and Support. Thank you.
Good morning, Karen Stout on behalf of the Animal Legal Defense Fund and Support.
Great. Anybody else? All right, we will now take lead witnesses in opposition. You may come up front, use either of the mics, and you will have 2 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tom Getling, and I'm here as an employee of Carolina Biological Supply Company, which is a member of the Hands-On Science Partnership, which is a trade association of 13 companies who, like Carolina, supply curriculum and supplemental science instruction to K-16 schools and beyond. We are also devoted promoting hands-on active science learning for all students. Carolina, HASP, and the National Science Teachers Association strongly urge you to oppose the passage of Assembly Bill 347 and have addressed correspondence with an outline of our reasoning, which I'll provide a quick synopsis of here. 4 points. We oppose because it's duplicative of existing law. Current provisions in Education Code 32255.1 already provide appropriate avenues for students to opt out of dissection activities in favor of alternative means. We oppose because it would incur unwanted costs to schools. Last year, the California Department of Ed Finance Committee opposed similar legislation because it was estimated to cost up to $4.3 million to fulfill the requirements of the bill. We oppose because it creates an unfair bias against dissection, and it could eliminate and prohibit science teachers and students who want to participate in dissection and learn in a manner they both enjoy and are engaged in. And we oppose, lastly, because it imposes an undue influence on students and schools to move away from active hands-on learning. In 2013, California was one of the first states to embrace and adopt the new next generation science standards. NGSS shifted the focus of instruction from rote memorization of scientific information to the cultivation of critical thinking through hands-on three-dimensional learning. California is facing dire shortages of qualified STEM professionals with the hands-on critical thinking skills that dissection activities develop and what California employees are seeking. AB 347 could effectively eliminate this aspect of learning by July of 2018. Further, while it encourages other alternatives to dissection, let me suggest that virtual learning, the use of synthetic animal specimens, or digital dissection are not active three-dimensional learning and are more expensive than what we provide. For these reasons, we urge you to oppose the passage of 347 and encourage continuation and increased enforcement of California Code 32255.1, which provides alternative avenues for students to opt out in favor of other alternative means. Thank you for your consideration and time.
Thank you. Do we have any other witnesses in opposition to this bill? Please use the mic at the railing. Seeing nobody getting up, I will now turn it back to committee members. Do we have questions or comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So on the cost, it's interesting. So a couple of things. I will be supporting the bill, and the reason why I'm going to be supporting the bill, and I saw the opposition, is that I think when it comes to the cost, I'm not sure. There's so many ways that this can actually, the disclosure, and one thing could be in code, but as with many items in place that we've seen in California, I've seen it in public safety, I've seen it in labor. We have a lot of code. We have a lot of things in code, laws in place. But the problem that California has had many a times is the lack of enforcement. So even though that might be the case, schools might not be executing the right, and a lot of the times, and we see this in so many spaces. It's not the fact that we don't have things in law, it's the fact that they're not necessarily enforced. And then when I ask questions as to the enforcement process of it, is like, why isn't it being enforced? It's been law, why isn't it being enforced? Well, sometimes it's because the agencies that are supposed to be enforcing these particular laws per se are not aware that they're not being enforced, or number two, they don't have the workforce to be able to enforce it, or number three, they don't have the funding that the state has not given to actually enforce the laws that we currently have. So even though this might be in statute, it might not be enforced because of a variety of reasons. On the cost factor, on whether or not this could potentially, and why it was vetoed perhaps in the past because of the cost, there's also now, thank goodness, digital, which in my opinion, I'm going everything digital. A lot of the things that I'm doing, I want to see about providing means to do it digitally, which is less costly for everyone in that sense, but also allows us to ensure that we are informing folks that needs to be done, needs to be enforced. So that's what I'm doing. The other thing I think is that the beauty that we have right now with science and technology is that so many of these things that, could be hands-on is also being done digitally, can be done digitally. And the innovation going around right now when it comes to science and technology in science and in the medical field is just amazing what you can do digitally. It's almost scary actually, and how advanced and wonderful that is. So it provides for options for many of our students, and this is a much different generation than myself. I just had my birthday, 53, and I look at this young lady and I go, her world will be completely different than what I've experienced and will experience in the next, time that I'm alive and my time ends here. But their world is going to be completely different. So the technology that exists right now in the world is going to be how they study, how they perform the work that they do. And I'm so grateful that you have a heart to go into, was it nursing? Yes, nursing. We are desperate in California for nurses. There's going to be so many means by which you will be able to get experience in your education. And I think we need to modernize the ability to do that. And I think this bill allows us to use some of that technology that will be applied to your learning in the future to be able to ensure that we as adults create a system that actually modernizes and accommodates the different variety of views and abilities to inform. And it is for those reasons that I will be supporting the bill today. And also for humane purposes, some of us are, want to be in science of some sort, but might not necessarily want to see those little creatures. And someone as a little kid who wanted to be a veterinarian as a little kid, have great compassion. And it's hard. It's hard when you don't have, that heart to be able to do that. But there's other means. Thank goodness technology's here, and we have to embrace that. And so with that, I will be happy to support your bill, and will be happy to move it when appropriate, ma'am.
Okay, excellent. Any other questions or comments? Assemblymember Calra, I'll just say, in talking with my staff, what my own staff shared with me, their experience of panicking while doing a dissection. So I think it's a very common thing that happens for students that go through this process, but it's also an important learning component. But as Senator Ochoa-Bogue noted, we have lots of technology now to be able to actually avoid using that, whether it be virtual components that many of us had to use during the pandemic, during COVID, or even plastic components, which I've also seen as well. So, appreciate your work here and think that this is very common sense and could in some ways even provide cost savings for school districts as well. So I will turn it back over to you to close.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I think that you exemplify part of the reasoning behind this is, first of all, the humane aspect of allowing individuals to have that choice and understand it and get an alternative instruction. But also, I think this is an entry point. These courses are an entry point into the sciences. Whether someone goes into nursing, medicine, other kinds of scientific fields, we don't want to turn students off at the entry point. If they want to dive deeper into it and have more advanced courses, that's just fine. But as indicated, even medical schools don't do animal dissection. I mean, there's definitely ways to learn about these materials without having to do dissection. And I appreciate Senator Ochoa-Bogue, who's in line in the traditional bipartisan support for this legislation. We had 68 votes off the Assembly, 11 of which were Republicans, and I really appreciate the nuanced, detailed reasoning behind it. And we also have the more visceral responses, like Assemblymember Flora just saying it's gross. So we have a whole wide range of why people get to where they get on this legislation, but either way, I appreciate it. Respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Assembly Member. So we have a motion from Senator Ochoa-Bogue, and the motion for AB 347 is due pass to the Senate Appropriations Committee. Assistant, can you call the roll?
Senator Perez.
Aye.
Perez, aye. Ochoa-Bogue.
Aye.
Ochoa-Bogue, aye. Cabaldon. Choi. Cortese. Cortese, aye. Gonzalez. Laird. Laird, aye.
Thank you. I am going to need to head to EQ, so I'm going to pass the gavel over